Hi ho, to the Lego store and spend money we go. I know that the song is not like that, but it's certainly what many fans said as soon as the first images of this new Lego Disney set appeared. Disney 43242 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Cottage has 2,208 elements and a retail price of €220 or dollars, equivalent to a price per element of 10 cents. I confess that I can't understand the differences between euros and dollars in the sets. Sometimes there are big differences, in other cases they are all the same. The name says it all. Here we have the Cottage of the Seven Dwarfs with a few more extras, namely the wishing well and the glass coffin, where Snow White is woken up with a kiss from the prince, some of the most iconic moments from Disney's first full-length animated film. And speaking of these, let's start with the minifigures, in which, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed. I don't have the 2023 sets. Both the Prince and the Snow White seem to me to be exactly the same figures that appear in most recent Disney Castle, while the Witch also seems to be the same one that appears in villain icons. An opportunity was missed here to introduce new outfits or prints on these. As for the Dwarfs, it is true that some of the expressions and features may seem strange, but this is due to the fact that LEGO decided to keep the minifigure heads instead of creating new molds, like they did for The Simpsons, Mickey, Donald, and others. All minifigures have two expressions on their heads, and in the Dwarfs' case, some perfectly represent the features of the characters from the film. A special note for the painted lips in the shape of a kiss on Dopey's head. We do have two new gnome hats with different orientations. I was unable to confirm if one of them is the same as the one that appears in Series 4 of collectible minifigures, and in this set it appears in 3 new colors. The short legs don't have prints, but the torsos are all new and different from each other, at least that I'm aware of. With the first bag, there are 14 in total, we build a wishing well which is quite faithful, decorated with lots of flowers. There's also a bucket, 2 little birds, and even a pulley that will supposedly allow the bucket to be lifted and lowered, but the rope was missing. We move on to the house, and by the presence of the two 16x16 plates, we realize that they will be made in 2 models, and that is exactly what happens, since with the model completed, it is possible to open the set through hinges in order to facilitate access to its interiors, although the same can also be done by removing the roofs. We start with the interior, with the floor completely covered in tiles and some studs where some pieces of furniture will be placed. Downstairs we have the 2 larger rooms, one with a huge dining table with bowls and glasses for everyone. The 7th glass is in the hand of Grumpy, perhaps the lack of drink is what leaves him hungry. There's 2 baguettes over the table, and next to it there's a fireplace with a light brick with a pot boiling inside, and some accessories such as cutlery, a lit candle, and a hanging sock. Is it Christmas already? Next to the main door, very detailed by the way, a barrel, mugs, a broom, and a really cool cuckoo clock. In the other room, we have the kitchen with a sink and several utensils and cutlery, and some shelves scattered on the walls with cups and other accessories. On the table, we find a pie that Snow White made for Grumpy, and which has his name on it, and this is a printed element. There is an oval carpet with 3 colors, and against the wall the pipe organ played by Grumpy in the film, with pipes in different colors, sculptured squirrels on the front and sides, and we use here 5 of the 12 stickers in the set, and a bench which is in reality served as bellows to inject air into the organ. We move on to the 2nd floor, and starting from the lowest area, we have some sorts of attic, where several boxes and chests with gemstones are stored. Certainly things that the dwarves found in the mines and didn't want to declare for taxes. In the highest area, we then have the bedroom where the 7 beds are. Highlight for a new element, the 2x2 tile with 1 rounded side, which will serve as a headboard for the beds, and where the remaining 7 stickers will be placed, each with the name of one of the dwarfs indicating the bed for each. As for the exteriors, there are some interesting details such as a brick-built door, excellent use of the flip-clip bar, some decorations next to the windows, and I highlight the 1x1 tile printed with an owl, which are in the ends of the wooden beams. Noteworthy are also the printed shutters, which are 2x3 tiles. The fireplace blends in with rocks, and the button to activate it is located next to the ground. There are several small elements that add more detail to the set, such as mushrooms, benches, some trees, where I highlight another birch tree with an element in a new color, the seaweed piece in white. Another cool detail is the table and the equipment used by Doc to find out the value of the precious gemstones, along with a bag and a box full of them, and a magnifying glass to help him with the task. Finally, let's talk about roofs, and there are 5 sections that you have to build, different sizes but more or less the same way. 4 of them fit into the house using clips and bars, while the largest, on the external side of the house, is just standing like the roofs in the Lego Ideas A-frame cabin set. This way it will make it easier to access to the bedroom. You really need to pay attention while building these, even the instructions book warn you about it. There are many elements similar to each other, mainly the left and right wedges, and it is not difficult to mix them. Fortunately, most of them are already separated in the bags, so please don't mix them up when you open them. Oh, and I almost forgot, it's kind of a morbid detail, but it is part of the original story. The glass coffin where Snow White sleeps after beating the poisoned apple. It's just like the film, completely covered in glass and heavily decorated with flowers, while trees serve as backdrop to the scene. Highlights include the curved slopes inside, which in a certain way adapt to the curve of the character's skirt, and 2 1x4 tiles with Snow White printed on them, placed on the sides and which are slightly hidden among the flowers. Conclusion: I really like the set. I was happy that they were based on the original film and included many fun details from the film, such as the pipe organ, the beds, the dining table, Doc's table, Grumpy's pie, and the inclusion of many printed elements. I believe that LEGO is really making an effort in this regard. But as I say in Portuguese, not everything is flowers, no matter how many of them the set has. And some things could have been better, such as the dwarves' heads and the figures of the prince, the witch, and Snow White herself, that could have something different from the figures that came out in 2023. But I also know that this will make the set even more expensive, as it already has a high value for most fans' wallets. Another issue that has been raised by fans is the fact that it has no back, and I really understand that, especially considering that it can be opened to access its interiors. Personally, as I'm used to sets from the 80s and 90s, where they were all open, it doesn't make any difference to me, although it will gather a lot more dust for sure. Furthermore, I bet that many of these sets will be displayed on shelves, and it is even easier to show visitors interiors like this. So, what is your opinion about the set? Will you buy it? Thank you LEGO and the Land for sending the set for review. Opinions on it are my own. Don't miss out on more reviews of other sets in the upcoming days, especially because Disney won't stop here. See you soon, and play well.